Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Well, and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. And today we have with us Dr. Sabrina Caliendo, who is the founder of Nurture Wellbeing. Dr. Sabrina, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Mike. It's good to be here and always a pleasure to speak to you.
Yeah, I just love learning more about people that do really groundbreaking things in their industry, and that is certainly what you have done. I've seen your background. I've been familiar with your work for a few years, and it sounds kind of funny to say groundbreaking, but I'll bet you if we had some of your patients on the line with us here in this interview, they would attest to the fact that, you are changing lives, and that's, even if it's just one life at a time, one person at a time, that's where the goal and vision and mission is in so many caregivers. So I want to dive into that, but give us a little bit of background, because I know you've been in practice for 20 years. I know you've seen thousands and thousands of people and worked literally on 2 different continents. Give us a little bit of a background on your history, and then let's talk about some trends that you're witnessing with patients, because what I love about people that are on the front lines every single day working with people is you see trends before the trends become evident.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so I've worked in Europe and I've worked here in the United States, and I've been here in the United States, particularly in New York, for the last, how long has it been? Like 13 years. And there are so many different trends that go on throughout the culture, both actually in the UK, Europe, and in the United States. But what I've seen, and I'm sure this is no surprise to anybody, is that the biggest trend that we're seeing now in health or in illness is actually the increase of stress, where we have really dived in deep into our technological age. Life got faster. There's so much more information that is being given to us and that we're looking into every single day, more than ever before. It's pretty unprecedented. And what that has done to the actual individual, and I suppose to the culture en masse, is it's created a lot more stress. We have to be much faster. We have to have completed, for instance, our to-do list before we even made it. And the way that don't you feel that way sometimes, Mike? It's like, wow, I should have done this already, but I didn't even think of it until just now. And that kind of attitude or mindset to life absolutely undermines your health. And so what we're seeing in our industry, but I really think in every single field in health and medicine, is that there is so much stress. And, all the research says now, like Harvard Medical School comes out with some really, really great papers, but all the research now says that the majority of illness and disease is caused by stress. And, why is that? The reason why is because when we are under stress, especially chronic stress, which really it's the majority these days who are under chronic stress, is we engage our primitive brain. That's our fight or flight instincts. And that primitive brain, it's called the lower brain, actually is there for a great reason. It's there to keep us safe and to protect us from threat. But if we stay in that for long, long periods of time, and nowadays we're seeing that some people have been in that state or that lower brain state for maybe decades even, what happens is that the brain doesn't regulate the body very well. In fact, all of our central organ systems become down-regulated, in other words, sick, because we literally aren't engaging the right parts of our brain, as opposed to what we really want to do is we want to live through our higher brain, which is those upper cortices of the brain, cerebral cortex, because what that does is that higher brain, first of all, brings us into ease, and wouldn't the world be a better place and our lives be a better place if we live from a place of ease and grace and surrender and, all those, the gratitude even, that's a beautifully higher consciousness way to live. But what the higher brain does is it controls and coordinates every single cell in your body, every single organ, every single tissue, every single chemical. It's huge. This is a game changer when you can live from your higher brain. Even the way that you perceive your world changes when you are being driven from your higher brain. The world becomes a much more open, expansive, incredibly abundant, joy-filled place full of possibilities, as opposed to somewhere scary where nothing changes, I feel stuck, those types of emotions that we all go through. And the way that we approach our lives changes, where if we're in that lower brain, stressful state, we're pretty much just trying to get through the day or the moment, and it all becomes, the focus is on me. It's how do I get through, and what do I need to do in order to get through my task list, and so on. Or in the relationship that I'm in, for instance, how do I make sure that I feel better in that relationship, as opposed to if you're living from your higher brain and you are out of stress, it creates a much, much better vision for you. So you go from thinking about me to we, which is huge. It's how do we all win, and what's the bigger picture here? And that, combined with having a healthy body, so higher brain gives you a healthy body, coordinates all your organs, tissue, cells, chemicals, and then on top of that, it means that you can actually connect even more deeply to yourself and more and more intimately with others. It changes everything. You end up being basically on purpose, following your soul's purpose, because you know what it is, and you're not hijacked so much.
Well, as soon as you started mentioning stress and research, I know I read and am familiar with a lot of that type of research, because it really is in the personal development world. You get into all of those topics, and then I love when you can say, I'm sure as a doctor you would even agree with the fact that if you treat or try to address a symptom, that's temporary, but the core source of a problem, let's fix that, because then the symptom goes away and then some. And if stress is one of the biggest source issues, that's a big aha for people. And I would venture to say that as a chiropractor, most people are kind of curious why you're talking about stress, because they think I was in an accident, my neck hurts, let me go see a chiropractor. No, that's fine, that's good, I can help with that, but let's talk a little bit more of the core. And it was funny you said about technology. I feel that I see in my life that technology is supposed to help you save time, and that is right, you can check that box. But what happens when we implement something to save us some time? We immediately jump right into, okay, good, now I need to go do this and this and this, and now all of a sudden we are heaping more and more stress on ourselves without even thinking that we're doing it. So can you speak just briefly to how would someone recognize, what are a couple indicators or red flags that someone might be experiencing some stress in their life? Because I feel that it's like the old analogy of the frog in the water. You turn the heat up slowly and it never knows it's getting boiled. You might ask 10 people and they might say, no, a little stressed, but not much. And you run some tests and they're like off the charts.
Oh, Mike, there is so much I could say in answer to this question. And if I gave you my full answer, we'd be here for like 2 or 3 days. So indicators of stress are, it's on so many levels. Stress affects on so many levels. The biggest indicator, I would say, if I'm basically going from bigger picture down to, smaller things, which the small things, by the way, are still the big things. But bigger picture is, do you feel that you're living an extraordinary life? If you don't, then you're probably stressed.
Huh.
That's one thing, because it doesn't mean that you have to be this, entrepreneur that's got a $5 billion company. Finding the extraordinary is the extraordinary is found in the ordinary. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if you're noticing things like you can go out into nature and admire the beauty in a flower, then you're probably not stressed in that moment, as opposed to you're going around with tunnel vision, not noticing what there is, what there is in your life. So first of all, lack of awareness. Not being aware of your surroundings, not being aware of you, how are you being in this world? That's one thing. And that, again, I could speak for hours on that. The next thing is, do you have any illnesses? Do you have any symptoms? That is usually already a red flag that there's stress in your physiology. Probably another thing would be, are you someone that reacts or are you someone that responds?
Yeah. Oh, that's a big one. Yeah.
It's huge. Reacting or responding, if you're reacting to situations and there isn't even a pause to discern or to feel through or to think through or to analyze in any way, you're probably under stress and you're probably engaging with that lower brain consistently. If you're someone that's able to respond and you're able to really look at a situation from multiple perspectives, you're probably using your higher brain. You're probably not so bad. And then, I think one of the biggest indicators of stress is actually how you treat others and how you treat yourself too. You'll find that there's people pleasing, which I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about people pleasing and treating others well in that way. I'm talking about love, really. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Sure.
If you feel that you are really caring for yourself, loving yourself, living your life from an overflowing cup, and that you feel that you're doing that for others and for yourself, then you're probably doing well.
Yeah. Those are some really excellent points. Reacting and responding is a big thing, because I think that if you were to ask people, are you stressed? Some would say yes, some would say no. But I think if you asked why you feel you're stressed, they would not think of the reasons you just gave. So those are excellent indicators for us to be aware of. It makes me think of tying into my next question, which is, so many times people feel like this happened, help me fix this. But in reality, that's like the surface problem, and we need to get to the symptom. So how do you advise and work with your patients with your technique of holistic approach? Because you don't just say, what's your problem? Let me fix it next. What's your problem? Let me fix it next. It's a balance of you in their day-to-day life, right?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I actually don't speak that much to my patients, believe it or not, because what I'm looking at is neurological patterns in the system, and whether I will speak to them or not actually doesn't make that much of a difference to what I do with them.
Wow.
So I know it's interesting. The work we do is very, very refined, very detailed, and we're literally looking at patterns. And so those patterns being, when people first come into my office, the first thing that we're ever really going to do, and that's because it's so prevalent, is help teach them reset from stress and access that organizing higher brains, that they can be healthy. Advice that I would give to everybody coming in, and the way that I do work with people. First of all, let me just tell you, the people that I attract in my office are usually between, in their 30s to 50s. They're people that want to be their best selves. They want to really, really live up to their ultimate full potential. And so the first piece of advice I would give anyone is with that is to make sure we're engaging your higher brain, always, always. The next thing is make sure that you're the one taking charge of your life. What we want to do is empower every single person coming in. And that comes, first of all, with helping them improve their mindset, creating rituals and habits that keep plugging into that higher brain, plus making sure that they are living in accordance to their values. So the first thing we do is always ask people what their goals are, and then we help them to get there.
I love that, because when you hear the word holistic approach, you kind of get a little bit fuzzy on what that actually means. But when you think of a chiropractor that says, let's start with mindset, let's work on stress, we'll work on the body, at that point, but you've got to set that foundation. Now, you said something interesting that I want to really make sure we tie in and have our listeners understand, which is, sure, you don't necessarily need to be talking a lot because of one reason. You're listening to their body and watching for how did you phrase that? The electromagnetic responses. So in other words, very scientific, but your approach to chiropractic is very special with network spinal. So speak a little bit about now what that looks like, but really in reality, I feel like a lot of people think a chiropractor comes in, cracks my back, and let's see if it helps. But you are doing something and watching and listening for the reaction to see then what the next step is for their body. So how does that work?
Well, first of all, network spinal is so unique in the way that we, in chiropractic, but also in, compared with any and every other discipline that exists too. So first of all, yes, it's exactly what you said. We are making extremely big shifts in neurology, and we're not actually, really, you must never say the word cracking my back to a chiropractor. Yep. It's completely inaccurate, but it is the term that's the
old school cliche that sticks in people's mind, right?
Yeah, it is, isn't it? And it's actually such an insult to the principles of and the artistry of chiropractic. But aside from that, so what we're doing is we're using extremely gentle, light touch. So there isn't any, high speed aggressive maneuvers, that there aren't any high speed aggressive maneuvers going on with the work that we're doing with network spinal. We're using extremely light touch. The amount of pressure you would actually be able to put on your eyelid, that's the amount of pressure that we will ever use on your body and on your spine. And what that does is it engages different parts of your central nervous system to create different effects. And the beauty of this work is, and this is where it really is different to all other forms of chiropractic, is it trains your nervous system to actually self-regulate and self-correct from the inside out. So, in other words, healing from the inside out, as opposed to having to take a drug, a painkiller, even a supplement, or even being fully dependent on the chiropractor, So what we always want to see, again, is empowerment. I suppose maybe my word of the day today is empowerment for people, because we want to give people the tools in their central nervous systems to know that they're going to that nervous system's going to be taking care of them. Then it's teaching the nervous system these new strategies and skill sets that are unique to this work is it's just incredible, because your body actually will never forget any of the any of those neural strategies that it learned. It's like riding a bike. It would be very hard to forget how to ride a bike unless there was a major stroke or something like that, happened to you. It's really pretty impossible. So we want to always work with the body, work for the body, and allow the body to be in alignment with its own natural wisdom, which there is so much of. I truly think that we, as the human species, there's no way that we will ever fully know and understand what this body is capable of. And I see miracles every single day. The work that we do as well, Network Spinal, is actually the most evidence-based, well-researched form of chiropractic that there is. I mean, it blows me away. And I've been in practice for 20 years, and I've been around chiropractic for, I don't even know if I want to tell you, 30-something years. And it just blows me away every single day, and when I then go and read the research papers, and you see that physicists, mathematicians, all these different types of people, neurologists, all these different types of people have studied this work, and then you get to see it, from that scientific place, looking at different scans and different brainwave scans and all these different things. Oh my goodness. What seems to be a tiny little light touch or a tiny little light impulse that we're putting into the nervous system on the outside. If you were to come into our practice and just observe and not know anything, it would look like, wow, how come when she just touched that person that lightly, their whole body moved and did this or did that, and it would look like we were doing some weird voodoo magic, but but it's all very science-based.
Yeah. Hey, have you ever heard of myelination in the brain?
Yes.
So what you were describing with teaching the body to regulate itself reminded me of the concept of myelination in the brain, which is, I'm not in the medical field, but my wife did a research paper on that, the cognitive effects of music on the brain. And myelination is basically kind of like, creating a rut, a positive rut and a habit. So your brain does something and then it does it again and then you do it again and your brain remembers, and it creates this kind of sheath and myelination, and it's something that is a good thing when you do it right, and a bad thing when it's kind of like when you play piano and it's like, oh, practice makes perfect. No, perfect practice makes perfect, because if you practice something the wrong way,
I like that.
when think about it, if you are doing something the wrong way, you're creating that myelination, or you're teaching your body, your nervous system to do something the wrong way. You've got to untrain. And I think if you say that to someone, they would go, I don't know where to start to untrain, but maybe this is your solution. The network spinal, the light touch is the way to untrain from old habits and retrain your body to self-regulate. And then it kind of becomes like on auto mode,
Yeah, absolutely. You have to be very careful what types of default neurological patterns you are, that you're actually basically training into the body. Even, it even follows all the way through to the way that we behave. If you're repeating a negative thought, a negative behavior over and over again, what you're doing in your central nervous system and in your brain is you're creating a default pattern. It's like skiing. If you went and you ski, you're at the top of the mountain and you got fresh powder or fresh snow, you ski down the first time, and that, if I make the analogy and I say that one first track in the snow is a let's say it's a negative thought or a negative behavior or an illness pattern, let's say, in your physiology. You go back up to the top of the mountain for your next ski down the slope, and you could choose any other part of the mountain to make a fresh track in. But instead, you go down the exact same track.
Because it's easier.
You do that over and over and over again. That gets deeper and deeper, and it becomes your default. And it becomes your default illness, your default behavior, and so on. So you want to always, just like you said, create new pathways. This is what we call, or what in neurology we call, neuroplasticity, which is broadening your scope of what is possible. Like the brain, the nervous system, has an infinite number of connections that it could make. We will never be done in terms of how refined your nervous system can be and what the potential is for you as a result of that.
Well, as you alluded to a little earlier, we could probably talk for days and days and days and days. So I want to touch on one other point. You recently won Woman of Honor Award in the category of Sciences for Service to the Community. Tell us about that award.
Well, I mean, first of all, it was a big surprise, so that was great. And so the award was given to me at a conference that they do annually. It's a really big conference here called Gaia's Essence Women's Conference, and it's a holistic women's conference. I think they're in their 11th year now. And the award actually was given to me because, again, my empowerment word, I want to empower everybody into knowing what their bodies and what their physiology is capable of, not just your physical body, but you, the whole of you, is capable of so much. And so what I do in my practice, and even outside, I speak a lot. I do a lot of public speaking, and we hold a lot of community events where we educate. I have a series in my office called our Nurture You series, and every month we speak about a different topic, but in a way that educates people to make healthier choices. And I always share information that isn't generally well known, but that will be life-changing, groundbreaking, life-changing information. We also do dinner workshops for the community. So these really are community service workshops where we host a dinner, and I speak for maybe about 20, 30 minutes on how to get healthy naturally from the inside out, or sometimes I'll have other topics too. But it's literally to educate the public, and there's no commitment needed. There's no price on it. It's for free. We have people come for dinner, hang out, be with our lovely tribe or our community that we've developed at Nurture Wellbeing. We love that. And what we want to do is we want to inspire passion and strength and knowledge and leadership in our community. And I think that's why I got that award, because
giving and serving.
Years, really in service. And if I can, it's like you said earlier in the conversation, if I can transform one life at a time, then my job is done. And really, when you transform one life, you're not really transforming one life. Each person touches thousands, possibly millions, even generationally. If you can change a mother or a father and help them be in their most optimal state, then you change their children's lives and then their grandchildren's lives and so on, because we're creating new patterns even in family relationships, and it changes basically the paradigm that you're living in. Even entrepreneurs, all of us.
It's like the ripple effect, or throwing the pebble into the pond and watching how far out that it spreads. It's not just the one action; it's the domino ripple effect that impacts so many other things. Well, I would like to thank you for coming on, and I would like to ask, how could people reach out, connect, and learn a little bit more about your practice?
Well, there are two ways. One is through our website, which is www.nurture, which is NURTURE, nurturewellbeing.com. The other is through our Facebook site, which is Nurture Wellbeing. And then what we do, because we want to help as many people as we can, is we do a complimentary consultation in our office, which you can either, call up the office, or you could actually get to that consultation tab on our website. And a consultation is just a conversation, really. It's, you can call the office, you can come in, we can have a conversation about what's going on with you, and then from there we'll see what your needs are, and if we need to do any tests, any nerve tests, anything like that, then we'll go ahead and we'll do that after that free consultation. So everyone's welcome, really.
Excellent. Well, Dr. Sabrina, thank you so much for coming on today. It was wonderful chatting with you and getting to know you more.
Thank you so much. And I just want to say But I'm so grateful for you, Mike, and you allow people to be heard, and you are always so encouraging and supportive, and I think you create a really safe space for both the people that you're interviewing and to the listener as well. So I really appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. You have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.